And welcome back to the channel, guys. Here with a very, very special guest tonight, Mr. Robert Mendoza and Nash Shocks, Texas. Welcome back again. Robert Mendoza, Mr. Ethan Mendoza, the leadoff hitter for the Horns, who's had a heck of a year coming over from Arizona State, and then just very honored and happy that he would take time out of his busy schedule to sit down with us Goobers and talk a little Texas baseball. Robert, how are we doing tonight, brother?
Oh, go. So I appreciate you guys, you and Nash, having me on. And where we're sitting today, record wise and whatnot, man, I can't complain at all. And if I did, no one would care anyway.
Well, that's the thing is like we try to be real honest about everything, see all the angles, all the sides, because nothing is always just as it seems. So we try to, scrape back some layers, and it's really hard to complain right now. It's really, really difficult. There's no such thing as perfect baseball out there, and especially in the college ranks. But I mean, these guys are playing damn good baseball, and it's been a great journey so far. Nash, obviously, I know you're super excited. What you got on your mind down there, brother?
I mean, I'm really excited to have this episode, man, because obviously having Ethan Mendoza's dad, it's really cool because there's a couple questions I've been wanting to ask him about. It's obviously that Ethan Mendoza has been taught baseball's been kind of the forefront of it. He's not like a late bloomer to baseball or anything like that. He's been in through the game, and we obviously get to talk to the guy that brought him up. So I'm really excited for this.
And Mr. Mendoza, go ahead and drop some knowledge on the folks. Tell them, that you've been around baseball for quite a while. You've done some coaching yourself, correct?
I have, yes. I've been around the game so long, and been around some great people. Actually, my high school coach, Rick Miller and Larry Buchan, who was the head coach. He's the head coach at South Lake Carroll now. He also coached Ethan. They worked Augie Garrido baseball camp when I was in high school. And so that tells you kind of the strength of the guys that I've been around. And I've just been fortunate to be around the game so long. And then just one day picked up, moved to the DFW, and became a high school coach out here at Grapevine High School. And that was my first year meeting Jim Schlossnagel, 16 years ago when he was at TCU. So that's been the go-to guy as far as coaching school and whatnot. So I was able to give Ethan a little bit of an insight back when he was 6 years old, and we were going through quality at bat charts, and I had it up in his bedroom just going through quad charts, and then I'm like, hey man, you have to hit the barrel hard, and he's looking over like, where's my dinner, Dad? Forget the quad chart. So he's been through the ringer with me, and just fortunate to have coached a lot of great players, but more importantly to have some great people in my background just as far as mentoring me.
That's really well said, man. And you referenced South Lake Carroll. Ethan obviously was a Dragon. Before that, man, I mean, I was giving you the platform to brag on yourself a little bit. You played some college baseball at Wayland Baptist, and so you go back further and further into just you getting into your coaching tenure. Baseball has been a big part of your life, and so I can see when you talk about the game, and obviously watching Ethan, it brings a lot of excitement to you. And yeah, Ethan's time at South Lake Carroll, pretty special. 4-year letter winner, was a captain of the baseball team, 2022 state champion. What was that like watching the old Carroll Dragons get through a pretty dang grueling Texas high school, playoff baseball bracket, rather?
It's still unbelievable. We're going through the journey together. I was on the staff at South Lake Carroll, so I was able to coach him his sophomore through his senior year. And I just remember looking at him as we're going through the journey, and he's just smiling and having fun, and I'm just so pressed and tight. And I'm thinking, there's a reason why he's so much better than I ever was. It's because he can just be even keel. And so we're out there in Round Rock playing and going through the state tournament, and he's grinding out at bats. And I'm thinking, man, this kid's special. And of course, he's my own kid, so I kind of think that way anyway. But It was so fun to be able to stand side by side by my old high school baseball coach, coaching with him and watching my son just thrive in such a great community and great program like South Lake Carroll is. And obviously, just a shout out to those guys. They're ranked number one in the state right now, and they're tearing it up again. And year after year, those guys just produce. It's like a factory over there. So just fortunate to have played over there and coached them. So to be a Dragon is just so special.
Yeah, I mean, Death, Texas, and South Lake Carroll being pretty dang good on the football field and the baseball diamond. Long, long histories. I mean, ever since I can remember being a teenager and into sports, South Lake Carroll's been a thread on the diamond. So really cool that you guys got to be a part of that, because South Lake Carroll athletics is a family in its own sense. I mean, it's a very tight knit community as far as athletics goes, and so congrats on that. I mean, that alone, that makes a lot of guys' entire baseball, career right there. You become a state champion, you're a letter winner, captain of the team. But for Ethan, that's just the beginning of the story. So let's move down the line a little bit. You spend a year Tempe, Arizona, part of the Arizona State Sun Devils Baseball Club, another program like Texas with a very rich history in the sport of baseball. What was it like being, a Sun Devil for what I guess about a year?
Well, it's amazing. I grew up a Sun Devil fan. I grew up a Texas fan, just watching Augie and learning about Augie and his program through Larry Vucan and Rick Miller, who obviously went through, coached for him in summer camp and whatnot. And then they took us out to Tempe to go play, high school baseball tournaments while I was in high school. So I fell in love with the city. I fell in love with the school, and then to see my son playing, baseball at Arizona State, like what a dream come true, So when he went through the recruiting process and we talked about, what his journey would look like there at Arizona State, you just have to be thrilled that he had an opportunity to earn a job and play for some good guys over there. And then the history of the program, you touched on that. Wow, there are a lot of special people that came out of that program, and they continue to produce great players over there. But Texas is home for Ethan, and it's home for our family and our friends. And he grew up a Longhorn fan, and he bleeds orange, and I've always believed that about him. It was one of those tough situations when he made the announcement about, hey Dad, I think I need to jump in the portal, and I need to pursue an opportunity that I think is best for me. And I can't help but support that, and it was tough for us to go through that process, but in the end, I think he made the right decision for him, and that's all I can do is support him as an individual and a young man who's making adult decisions. And I've always said that athletics is the safest place to make mistakes, and you have a lot of people who care about you, and they'll pick you up. So I felt like that journey was what was best for him. So we're fortunate to be here now.
Athletics is the safest place to make a mistake. I might steal that one, teach that to my little 5 and 6 year old flag football
Mm.
team, because we're making a lot of mistakes on the football field right now and in practice too. We got some character issues to work on as far as on the field. But I mean, it's really great to hear. I mean, you you get to see your son playing in a uniform both at in Arizona State and now at Texas in a jersey that you've watched legends play in. You know what
Oh
I
yeah.
mean? You've seen
Oh
you've
yeah.
seen Hall of Famers from both sides. You've seen college champion, World Series champions from these two schools. I mean, just elite talent, and it's got to be really cool for you to just look out there and you're like, my son is a part of that. And both programs are obviously very, very special. But I want to ask, what led to Texas? Why, you have a history, obviously, with Coach Jim Schlossnagle, but what got that across the finish line and made Ethan Mendoza a Texas Longhorn, and you as well?
Uh, it's funny because I would come home from coaching school year after year, and like I said, I'd go through the pick drills that Schloss and his staff talked about, and we're going through rundowns, and we're doing all the stuff that Schloss had taught me as a young coach, um, and I noticed just some chatter as they were going, A&M was going through the College World Series and all that stuff. I just kind of picked up on it. And I remember telling Jim one day, I think this was way back when Ethan was an eighth grader, and I said, "Hey Jim, I hope one day my son gets to play for you." And it was so important for me to communicate that to him because of what he had done for me as a coach and prepared me to change the lives of individuals. And so when the opportunity came that, Jim Schlossnagle was going to Texas, I sat down with Ethan and I said, hey, man, this is something that I think you should just look at. I'm not saying you need to do anything, just because he was dead set on going back to Arizona State. There was nothing going to change his mind. And I just felt like at the end of the day, Jim Schlossnagle's program and the kinds of characters that, not characters, but the type of staff that he's bringing with him, Nolan Kane, the recruiting coordinator is just phenomenal, man. Just a great guy. And then you add Brian Kane, who's mental skills, which, Jim Schlossnagle taught us that. The power of mental skills, and so we were able to learn that as coaches. And I knew the importance of it, and I passed it along to Ethan. And then going into Tulo and what he brings to the table, obviously his resume speaks for itself. And then the strength and conditioning coordinator and the meals, the tank, academic advisors, and it's like, Ethan, just take a look at it and just consider it. And so, um, man, it just when he jumped into the portal and talked to Coach Schlossnagle and everything started to fall in place. He went on his recruiting visits to Oklahoma and Arkansas. Eventually, was going to go to LSU and then ended up in Austin. And I just remember looking at him in the face, and I said, "E, are you sure this is what you want to do?" He goes, "Dad, there's no one else I want to play for than Coach Schlossnagle. So let's do this." And it was done. It was like that. But an interesting story that people don't know about, Ethan, is that he talked to Coach Schlossnagle on the phone when he was in the portal. And Coach Schloss asked him, he said, "Hey, what do you need from us?" And he said, "I just want to look you in the eye and make sure that you're serious about me as a player." And Coach Schlossnagle was out in California, and he jumped on a flight and met Ethan that Saturday morning, and we met down there with the staff, and man, just a dream come true to be able to be a Longhorn. So that really did it. Coach Schlossnagle ending his vacation a little bit early to come down and meet Ethan. Man, that sealed the deal. And I think if you know anything about Ethan, he wants to know that you're genuine about who he is as a person, because obviously he's not a huge kid that's going to bang balls out of the yard, but he wants to know that you're serious about him. So Slosh was, and I think that's what eventually did it.
I don't know. First 11 games, man, he might have had people thinking he was a big time power hitter.
Finding a lot of barrels early in the year, no doubt. That's a really cool share. Thank you for sharing that with us. I had no idea about that story. I think it says a lot about what Jim thinks about your kid, and that he wanted obviously to get that across the finish line. But at the same time, I think it says a lot about Ethan, and that he wants to look a coach in the eye and know exactly what that coach thinks and feels of him as a baseball player, because that's where he's about to spend his time, where he's about to put his trust into. Another tidbit that you mentioned, the other schools that were kind of in that recruitment a little bit. You talk about an Oklahoma with a Skip Johnson, who's been around that program for a while now. You talk about Arkansas and LSU, obviously have long tenured head coaches as well. And so for him to put his trust in Texas baseball and Coach Schloss, Nolan Kane, Tulo, and everybody that's involved, that says a lot about what you guys think about the Horns and what Ethan thinks about, our new head guy in Austin. So that's a really, really cool story, man. And one thing I have to say, referring back to last summer, you're a guy that spent some time on Twitter. And I'm sure, like Nash and I, you probably saw some absolutely slanderous and outrageous things coming from a certain direction to my over to my to my right, which I think is east, coming from former school of Jim's, and there was all types of things being said. And so for you to come out and share that story, I think it was important for multiple reasons. One, there are a lot of people that believe everything that they hear, and there are
Right.
other people out there that are not Texas fans who read some report from a Barstool Texas A&M or something like that,
Right.
and they immediately are like, well, that's fact. That's fact. Everything that I just read, that's who that guy is. And so I'm sure that probably bothered you some, just as a dad, knowing that you've known this gentleman for a very long time. He's a colleague of yours, and that's probably, I mean, as much as it bothered us, I'm sure you guys were ready to be a part of this program and commit to to Schloss and company. I'm sure that bothered y'all as well. So I love hearing that, because we're just squashing all that silly stuff that happened last summer, and we'll really get a chance to squash it here in a couple of weeks. That's what's most important. What you got, Nash?
Right. Right.
I really love how in all that conversation that he just had about all this is there. I mean, we know that Ethan Mendoza grew up a Longhorn fan. He has orange blood going through his body. not once was the fan part of it mentioned, right? I mean, obviously you'd want to play for the University of Texas as a fan, and I assume that probably is like an extra level of pride for Ethan being able to play at the school that he went to go watch players. And he probably had dreams of, when he's going to games, have dreams of him that's that himself being on the field. But
Right.
man, it's really cool that he wanted to make sure that the decision was the right thing for his baseball career, right? And he went at a very mature way to go about it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. It's a difficult decision to manage all these moves, right? And figure out what the best move is. And obviously all the opportunities that he had. Ethan was so grateful. People reached out and they texted him and they went through it and hey, we'd love to have you. I know Texas Tech was in the mix. And at the end of the day, it was a beautiful match in the fact that Ethan needed a coach who could coach him so hard and push him beyond his measure with the ability of Jim Schlossnagle and his staff. Like the coaching is the most important piece. And for those dads out there listening, and they're going through it with their 12-year-old, that's the number one thing that I looked out for with Ethan was like who is in front of him and who's pouring into him. Because at the end of the day, um, I want good men. I want great men in front of them. But man, we're doing baseball, right? And this is about baseball at the end of the day. And he had a couple of opportunities going through the recruiting process to end up at Texas, but it wasn't the right fit. It didn't work out in his favor, and he had always wanted to do that. And I think that when Coach Losh made that call, Ethan was jumping for joy, man. Like I knew it inside. He's not one to show emotion, but I knew it inside that he was really excited about the opportunity, and for it to happen like the way it did, I just, Coach Slosh is the right guy for him, and that's what it came down to is like who is going to help this kid become the best player he can be. And then when you wear the burnt orange, man, it just means something different. It hits different. Ethan texted me that. He goes, Dad, this uniform just means so much more. And I mean, I'm in tears just watching him run out on the field during the alumni game. My wife's like, what's wrong? I said, I got a bug in my eye. And I'm just in tears almost every time I see him run out there on that field. It's just that important to us.
So I do have kind of one more little back into that what I just said is earlier in the year, Ethan kind of had a little bit of viral quote where he was asked after the game about like Jim Schlossnagle, and he basically kind of in some words said he did want me at Texas A&M, but I didn't want A&M. Was A&M really that? Was it really a deal where he was like, you know what, screw that, I don't want to go to College Station. Because I'm not gonna lie, I think that's amazing. I love the thought process right there.
Let me
Great
back.
decision
Let me,
making.
let me back up a little bit. He had been recruited at TCU. Bill Mosiello had been recruiting Ethan when he was a freshman or a sophomore to go to TCU. And my wife and I are both teachers, and so we were like, okay, what are we going to do? Pull out, $190,000 worth of loans to get you through school after 25%. It just financially didn't make sense, and so we were upfront about that with Mosiello. And then when the A&M deal started to unravel, I remember having a conversation with Coach Schlossnagle before Ethan signed, going into his freshman year or senior year, excuse me, back in October. And I went to Ethan. I said, "Hey, dude, Coach Schlossnagle's calling, man, and it's A&M, and they really want you." And he looked at me. I mean, dead, just stone cold. He said, "Dad, I'm never going to be an Aggie. You can tell me I'm not going." And it was like, I mean, for a dad you're going from an opportunity like that to play for such at the time, it was such a good program. We knew that they were on the rise. I just looked at him. I said, this is, just consider it for a
It's
second, man.
it's
Like,
A&M, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I probably would have considered it.
right? Like you could pretend that you're not at A&M and just be right. And he's like, Dad, I'm not going to be an Aggie, and that's the end of it. I'm literally not going to hear him. And I called Coach Schloss back, and he goes, Robert, what's it going to take to get him here? I said, literally, as long as you're not in an Aggie uniform, he will play for you one day. And it ended like that. And Schloss he was so angry with me. I know he was upset with me because I think he thought it was him, but it was never him. It literally is that. It's a house of Longhorns. That's what it is.
Well, so I mean, A&M. He was asking before the show what colors is Arizona State. Well, Arizona State's maroon and gold, so we know it wasn't the maroon that bothered
It,
him.
no, it's literally that. I mean, he just said, "Dad, I'm not going to be an Aggie. There's no way." And he
Love it,
continued
man.
on, and that's the way it ended. So I was the one who had to call Coach back and tell him that Ethan was not going to entertain that offer at all.
Hey,
Talk
instant
about
instant top five status on my plate for like all time Longhorns. Instant top five status.
I mean, you're talking about full circle moments, man. Like coaching for
It's
Jim. You get to where he's after your kid while he's in College Station. Ethan kind of throws up at the word Aggie, like most of us in Burnt Orange. And then now there is a match made in heaven right now, and he's batting leadoff for Coach Schlossnagel. And one thing I want to say is like the way that you've described Ethan, his composure, his ability to be calm, and you said, you kind of see that separated you two as athletes, or what made y'all different, but he's like a perfect leadoff hitter. He's calm. You can't get out there as a leadoff guy and set a bad tone for the day, jumping out, getting in a hole early, swinging at pitches, not making a pitcher work. Your job as a leadoff hitter is to get in there and set a tone for, kind of that day and how those at bats are going to go. And I mean, just the way you describe him and seeing the numbers, and it's just fun to watch, man. And it truly feels like a match made in heaven. Obviously, you guys love the Horns and are, part of the family and part of. I mean, you're part of history, man. You're part of Texas baseball. It's the most elite college baseball program on earth. I will say, with complete respect to our neighbors over in Louisiana, LSU has had a hell of a program for the last few decades.
right.
But I mean, this is Texas, and so it's really important and really special, to have you guys on here or here and being a part of it. It's special to have you on here with us talking baseball. But let's talk Kentucky. I was worried about this series. I said Texas would take 2 out of 3, but I was one of those guys that kind of called it a bit of a trap series. You have a big-time home sweep over the Georgia Bulldogs, and then you got to go to travel to old Lexington, Kentucky, play them in the cold and the rain and the wind, a little bit different weather than we've had in Austin, Texas of late. And 3 really good ball games. Probably a little bit too good for all of our likings. But start with Friday night. How was it watching your kid? It's a team effort, man. But I mean, we had to have that guy at the plate, or we don't get a win on Friday. Talk about 2 for 5, I believe 4 RBIs
Or Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, multiple hit, multi-hit games all weekend.
Yeah, going back to Friday, baseball is such a unique sport, and you could come out and Coach Slosh talked about it this morning in his interview. You can come out and play well and still find a way to lose, and the game is just such a funny game. And when you look at all the moments that lead up to a win or a loss, it's like, okay, did we miss a steal sign somewhere in there, or did we execute a hit and run or a run and hit? And those are all the things that I stare at. I look at. I'm watching the game and all the intricacies of the game, and I'm like sitting there trying to manage the game with Coach Slosh. And I know he hears me, but sometimes we're just not on the same page, right? But most of the time we are, and I'm like, dude, he's just such a great game manager. And Ethan talked about that in the interview the other day. In one of his interviews, he said, Coach Losh just manages the game well, and he keeps us, on task. And I think that on Friday we were able to see that. There were several buttons pushed that led to an opportunity for Ethan to drive in a couple of runs, and I think that that's important as you push buttons. It's not just about running, chaos. We saw Kentucky run into an out there at second base, and Coach Slosh talked about that. We prepared for it. We prepared Ruger for it, to step off and throw to second and run him into an out real quick, and then not give him an opportunity to try to score from third. And that to me speaks to the volumes of preparation that leads up to these victories. And sometimes it doesn't work out. I think we've lost 6 games and we've lost some tough games, but look at the other side of that. All of the victories have come because of preparation from the coaching staff and then the players buying in. I know Coach Slosh talks about that a lot. But Friday, man, you just have to be happy. I'm happy for Ethan to get in there and contribute. And I just, as a parent, I just want him to be in the middle of all of that chaos that produces wins for the staff and the team, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters is the wins. And yeah, the individual success on Friday was cool, but man, we're all about just let's win, dude. That's how our house is, just win. And it doesn't matter, fight tooth and nail until we win. And if we lose, man, get back up and get after it again. So I was disappointed on Saturday with a 15, inning loss, but good night, man. You're playing tough baseball out there in Kentucky, and you guys talked about the elements and those types of things, but yeah,
And
just
weird stuff starts happening once you get into the 15th inning.
I mean, that whole
you,
series was weird though. And we're just
weird.
watching it from here, but I mean, from commentary to the umpiring crew to just
Right.
some of the defense Kentucky was playing on Friday and Saturday. I mean, their infield, especially on the corners, played really well.
Jeez.
And I mean, you talk about the small things. This is the SEC. The margin for error is so slim, whether you're a better team than your opponent or not, because most of the time, you're not going to be, not going to be that much better. There's so much dang talent across
Jeez.
this country, and like you said, Kentucky plays a bit of a unique brand as far as baseball goes with the chaos style. And hey, credit, as you said, for Texas handling the little things, coaching guys up, knowing what to do, because I mean,
Right.
they're not going to be put in those spots very often. That Kentucky does do things just a touch differently, but that's one thing. I mean, that kind of sounds, like you're a big fan of Schloss in the regard that, those small things make a huge difference to him. And he's fine tuning those small things and really dialing them in, because like you just said, it can make or break a baseball game. We have a couple of bats, I think, with runners on, with a sixth, seventh, or eighth inning there. I think 2 of those 3 innings on Saturday, a chance to go take a lead and, or maybe even add some insurance. So I think is what it was. I think we had the lead there. Yes, we did have the lead. And, I think we swing at a couple pitches that, we don't normally swing at. Maybe that's concentration, or, maybe just you're seeing something you didn't expect to see. And those are things that as the season goes, Texas probably continues to get better and better and better at the at bats. I mean, you go look in Arlington the first week of the season, and a lot of our approaches at the plate, a lot stronger. And it's not just 1 or 2 particular guys; it's several throughout this lineup. Some that are sitting on the bench right now. I mean,
Right.
you've seen almost improvement from every single guy. But again, it's baseball. People are going to have their struggles. That's part of the game. But you're taking quality at bats. You're barreling balls up. You're going to find holes eventually. It feels like, I don't know. It feels like Mr. Winfield. Every time he swings and barrels one up, it's right at a defender. But that's
Right.
just bad luck in baseball sometimes. It's just part of it. But you talk about a 15 inning loss. You're a competitive man, Robert. You want to
Oh
win.
yeah.
You're all about it. I'm sure Ethan, obviously the same way. Every other Longhorn on that roster, coaches included. You lose a game like that, it's very easy, feel sorry for yourself a little bit. You're tired. You've used all your arms. You got to wake up and do it again on Sunday. But hey, wake up on Sunday. You go back out there. You play really good baseball. Shout out. I mean, it takes a team effort to get back
Really
up,
good
rally
baseball.
together. I mean, really good baseball. Got out there and jumped on Kentucky a little bit, so you brought the fight to them a little first. And one of the, both teams are tired. And so when one team kind of punches the other one in the mouth, it's a little bit easier than normal for that other team maybe to lay down. And so
Right.
just share some thoughts about Sunday. The boys stepped back up after, like you said, dropping a tough one.
Yeah, I've been in those barn burners where you're 11th, 12th. All right, someone execute the off, and you, like you said, you swing it at a pitch out of the zone and pop it up. Now they're out of the inning, they've got momentum, and then they just executed the small ball there in the end. But they had, up to that point, we had defended it so well. And you have to have confidence going into Sunday, knowing that not only are you prepared for what they're going to do all weekend long, but that you have the players who have bought into the system of executing that, right? And so you look at Ruger getting off the mound and playing the ball right off, just fantastic. And then for Borba to hang on somehow on that play at third, keeping his foot on the bag, and with all this replay stuff, right? They're going to get that call correct. And it's those types of plays that eventually get you enough of an edge to win a game. And I think that the kids in the dugout just have to be confident. Not only are they prepared, but the energy and the excitement to play for one another. And I go back to culture. Um, Everything is about culture there at Texas. And to me, I was telling one of my coaches earlier, one of my coaching buddies earlier, like the culture of the program is all about the team, and you have to remove the individual stats. You have to remove all the individual success and focus on the win, because the SEC will beat you up in a hurry. And we saw that. You're looking at A&M going from number 1 down to not even ranked, and then all of a sudden figuring something out, right? It goes out. It goes. You can win and lose that fast, and walk out of Kentucky 0-3. And I'm excited to look on TV and watch that game and know that the guys are just out there competing their butts off, and they play to a standard, not a scoreboard. That's culture. That's culture, and I love how they rattle that stuff off, because to me that's buy-in, but that's confidence in what we're doing as a program. And so you have to look at that as a potential recruit. Those of you guys who are out there, wondering, do I go to Texas? Do I go to LSU? um, Man, the answer is simple. Look at what's happening and the way these kids talk about their brotherhood and their culture and their program, and then watch what they're doing. Friday through Sunday. Don't take those 6 losses and dissect that. Take the other. What do we have? 36 wins or whatever that is. I don't even know anymore. But that's just a byproduct of the culture. So Sunday was phenomenal. I loved watching that stuff happen. And I didn't like Ethan getting thrown out of the plate on that tag up. I mean, I wanted to strangle him through the TV too. So everyone out there wanted to kill him. I'm with you. I was ready to go get him.
Hey, I'm not sure how you're reacting when you saw the ball only 3 feet away and he's running for. Hey, it worked out though for him. But
Well,
one thing
what's
that
funny is if you look back on, there's some highlights out there on him, and I'll share it with you guys later. He did that in a big regional final against Keller, one of our crosstown rivals. The ball
Mhm.
kicked off and went into the other batter's box and literally was 5 feet away from the catcher, and he scored on that play. And it's on Twitter. It's a big time, liked play of his. But anyway, he did that Sunday, and I was like, dude, there's no way he just executed that. So that goes back to the baseball IQ right there.
I mean, it shows the his awareness of knowing not only where the ball is, right, but like it's just like it's. I love that he does like the Spider-Man celebration because he's got to have like some spider eyes because I mean he's watching like 20 different things at once. Like
Right.
he's
Those
able to
Spidey
see,
senses,
okay, yeah,
man.
the catcher's kind of lost his ball a little bit, even though it's only 5 feet away. Like I mean, like that
Right.
that takes some that takes some steel balls of him to be able to go on, like in a set to also have that level of run only 90 feet away. I mean,
Right.
when
And
the
he's
iron's hot, you
processing
gotta take
so
you gotta
much.
strike.
Yeah, he's processing so much, and it's funny because a lot of coaches have said like he doesn't look like he has energy. Looks like he's like just like plays like real steady, but he doesn't really show emotion. And I'm just thinking in my head, this guy's processing a million things at a time, like the line out that should have been caught, and he lets it fall, and everyone's like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And all of a sudden, we get a double play out of it, and he's over there, monster walk. I don't know what kind of walk that is, and I'm like, "Who is this guy?" You know what I mean? So. I love as his dad, I just love the baseball IQ stuff. That to me just separates him from a lot of other guys that just don't know how to play the game. And that's just a big pet peeve of mine is you better learn how to play the game and all the intricacies that go into the game. Man, I've hammered him year after year, game after game. Like, dude, this is how you play it. This is how you do it. And again, that goes back to all the great people that I've had in my corner teaching me about the game.
Yeah, I figured he had to have been peppered from you quite a bit on baseball IQ to have that level IQ because, like, I mean, to me, it's one of those things where I mean, you've mentioned preparation probably 3 or 4 times in each answer, and I always go back to man, it preparation in baseball. It's baseball's a nonstop sport for preparation. You have to if you watch a game, right? You can always pick up something from every single play that you watch. It's just one of those sports where there's so many outcomes that can happen on a given
Right.
play, and it's like the old adage of run a mock play through your head before every single pitch because you never know if that play is going to happen,
Right.
and it feels like Ethan does that a lot.
And that's Brian Kane. Brian Kane taught us that 12 years ago. I remember listening to him talk about that stuff. Lay your players on the ground and go through what it's like to execute a tough pitch in a big moment. And all my Irving Nimitz kids, when I was the head coach at Irving Nimitz, they would I'd walk in and say, "All right, guys, everyone lay down on your backs, and we're going to go through this mental stuff." And the kids are like, "Coach, you're coming back from coaching school, and here we go again with this TCU stuff." And I'm like, "Guys, but it works, and I'm going bananas with it." And yeah, it worked at Irving Nimitz where we were, I think, the winningest coach there in the history since 1969, had won like 11 games, I think. And we ended up going to like the third or fourth round in playoffs and getting beat by Rockwall, who's such a tremendous program out here in the Metroplex. And it was all the mental skill stuff and all the stuff that Schlosser talked about, the small ball and how to execute and defend it. And so, yeah, that's all of that stuff Ethan got to sit through. And man, I hammered him every day with that stuff.
It shows.
That's really well said, and I'm going to touch on that a little more in just a second. Guys, really appreciate all of y'all being in here. I think we've got around 400 in here live. Whether you're on Twitter or YouTube, please do me a favor and like this video. Show Mr. Mendoza some love. Hopefully we can get him back on here talking baseball again. He's been an incredible guest. And if you haven't subscribed to the Ghost and Friends channel, please do that. It takes 2 seconds, quick, it's free. I think we're almost to 600 subscribers. Trying to get there. Let's see if that video can get us across that line. But most importantly, thank you all for being here and giving the channel a chance and listening to Mr. Nash, Mr. Mendoza, and myself. But, what you just talked about, just situational awareness, I'm a golf instructor, and one thing I like to say to clients is paint a picture, paint the picture of what you're trying to accomplish in that moment. And it's much easier to do that in golf because you're swinging a club, you're picking a shot you want to hit. In baseball, if you're painting a picture like Nash said, there's a billion different outcomes. Whether if you're a third baseman, the guy can bunt, guy can, hit one into your chest on a rope. And so you have to just be aware of all things, be on your toes. And so, again, it sounds like the staff that Coach Schlossangle has brought over here is fantastic top to bottom. This program is only, this program, it seems like it will only get better in the near future. And that's not discrediting anyone. It's just a testament to the belief we all think we have in these players and this staff. And so I don't think we've even seen, the max potential that this team can play to in this season. I think there's still some meat on that bone. And I'm sure you as a coach up there, you agree as well. Game of baseball, you can, there's always a little bit more you can go do. When you're looking down these last 5 SEC series for Texas, what's one thing as a fellow coach, an avid baseball lover, a baseball purist even, that you'll really be looking to see maybe improvement-wise from Texas baseball?
I think you touched on it a little bit. We haven't put it all together. It seems like it's pitching one game and then offense another game. It's the small thing, the base running. And so I think that as you get into the regional, right? So talking a little bit about the 5, series that are coming up, you want to see consistency of every little portion of the game, right? The game within the game. So the base running, you want to see that improve. And I think we've done a phenomenal job of going first and third on balls in the gap or balls right at, to the corner outfielders and just knowing when to go and when not to go, right? The small ball game killed us. I think it was a couple of Tuesdays ago. We couldn't execute a bunt, right? Or I think it was the Sunday Georgia game or something. We just couldn't execute.
Sunday Georgia, and then
Sunday
Jaden,
Georgia.
same guy that bailed the bunt.
Right. So as you get deeper into this season, you want to see those plays executed, right? And so as you start to get into the regional, we call that getting hot, right? Getting hot at the right time, and it's a matter of putting all of it together at the right time. We don't want to peak too early. I know we're ranked number 1. That doesn't mean anything. And those of you guys who love the rankings, man, that stuff is awesome. It really is, and it brings a lot of attention to the program. But it's too early to be number 1. We haven't even played well yet, right? In my opinion, I think we still have so much more to do. But you just want to see consistency in the next 5 series. You want to see pitchers, healthy. You want to make sure your guys are healthy. Coach Losh talked about that this morning. Just be healthy and start to execute the little details that are going to win you big games in those moments of, do or die, game 3 of the regional or wherever you are in the schedule, just knowing that you're getting hot at the right time. And then when you get to Omaha, if you're fortunate enough to get there, man, that you're the hottest team on the planet, because that's really what it comes down to.
I mean,
Yes.
it also being the 1 seed, for anybody that's followed the College World Series, last year was kind of an anomaly with the 1 seed. You don't want the 1 seed. That's
No,
that's not
no.
not a number that you want by your name. The last team was Tennessee, obviously, but before that was 1999 Miami. I had to look that up again because
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I think that you said it best. Like Texas, like we haven't put everything together all at once, but I think that that shows one of the things I love about this team the most is their ability to pick each other up. If
Right.
one part of the game is down, there will, and it's really fluid too. It's not like a hey, this isn't working well right now. It's like, hey, we're in a game right now. We
Right.
need some, like, we either need some bats, we need some quality at bats or something like that. Uh
Right.
Another
It
thing that's
seems like
really
it's someone new, right? It seems like it's someone new every day. It seems like, the double down the line by Schusler. It's like a double down the line by J Flow. And all of a sudden you're like, man, how did we all of a sudden explode for 3 or 4 runs? And we're one for, 15 at the, first 5 guys or whatever. And it's like we're not producing up at the top, but that one key hit. And so, yeah, you touched on that. That's huge. I like how you
You,
said that there.
I
you
mean, and
talk
it's like
about it.
you look
Talk
at
about
like
a Jock
Rylan
Stewart
Galvan.
too. Sorry, go ahead, Nash.
Right.
I was gonna
Jaquay
say, you look at
Stewart in a big moment.
Rylan Galvan, he had only one hit on the weekend for Georgia. His second hit was the one that went over the fence. That was his first walk-off home run for Texas.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's just, and another thing too that's really stood out to me this year is the level of chemistry that Jalen Flores has with Ethan Mendoza. And I just like, I really, that's one of those things that it doesn't, I don't care how just well you just, get along with somebody off the rip. The level of play that they're doing right now does not happen without hours and hours and hours of unseen work that's gone into it. I mean, like, you see these guys, they're almost, it's exactly how you want a shortstop and second baseman to be. You want it to be like, hey, one dude's your right arm and the other dude's your left arm, and they're
Right.
working in sync. They know exactly what they're doing. Uh, and I love, like, I mean, we've already seen like what 2 or 3 barehanded double plays so far this year between the two of them, and it's
Yeah.
just, I every single time I watch them turn a double play, I'm like, man, I love, like, you can see the work and the amount of time that they put into, and also just caring about the game.
Right. And Tulo, you have to give Tulo credit. If you know anything about his background, and how he played, and the things that you hear about him and his work ethic, that guy was on a relentless pursuit of perfection. And he gives that to his players. And I warned Ethan about this. I said, that dude's going to hit you ground balls until literally the cows come home at night. And Ethan was like, what does that mean, Dad? Right? So it's old analogy there. But I'm like, dude, he just works you to death, and you have to be prepared for that. And on the other hand, Schloss is so detailed that he wants you to be perfect one time instead of being average 5 times. So you're going to have to figure out a way to do that. And I think through the process, Schusler, you see Schusler high-fiving Ethan and head bobbing Ethan. You see J Flow, flipping balls to Ethan. They're having fun. They're doing their Spider-Man twist. Who knows what they're doing? I still can't figure it out. And then you see guys like Borba, stepping in there, and you see him going bananas. It's like the chemistry of the guys is because of the culture, and that's so awesome to see.
I mean, it's definitely a true team. I mean, you can tell they enjoy playing for one another, being around one another. And that's something that, us Texas fans, and I'm not knocking teams of the past, but it's something that we've learned, unfortunately, not to take for granted. And I'm not speaking just
Right.
towards baseball, football, or basketball. I mean, there's just been particular teams where culture has not been, at the forefront there. Culture was, in the very back of the minds. A lot of other things were going on. And so,
Right.
yeah, I mean, with our burn orange hearts, it means a lot to see these guys caring for one another, how committed they are. And it's not, you've won their first 4 SEC series. You get in there again. I'm sorry to bring up Sunday, but I mean, that's, as you said, that's a culture dub. You go in
That
there after a
is.
long game on Saturday. Easy to just say, okay, and you can drop this game, and you're still 4-1 in the SEC. You're still probably in the top 5. Like, it's okay, but that's not Texas baseball, and that's never been Texas baseball. So the ability to get back up, rep after rep, it seems like that's what it's all about with Coach Sloss. And so definitely love having you. You're awesome in burn orange. Ethan's awesome in burn orange. Nash, any other questions you can think? I'm going to ask our guests. If y'all have any questions that you would like to ask Mr. Mendoza, drop them in the comments and we'll get them asked to him while we still have him here.
I mean, I just also want to go back to something that he said earlier too. Is the standard is a standard. You play to the standard,
Yeah.
not the scoreboard. And the amount of times that I've heard that from, like, that exact quote, word for word, from multiple different players and parents, you can tell that is a, like, that's probably, that has to be what the first words of Jim Slossnagel walks into the team meeting, and all right, guys, standard is a standard. We're not playing. We're playing just a standard, not a scoreboard, right?
Right, right. And I want my Texas T-shirt, that says that on the, we're playing to a standard, right? Like that's how much I think the guys have bought in, and the dads, that I've talked to just about that stuff is like, how fun is that to be able to know that, you don't even care about the school board. It's like we're just playing baseball out here. So how relieving is that for a baseball player to just go out there and play ball? Like, man, that to me is like, okay, if I'm ever a head coach again, I'm pursuing that right there. Like, let the guys be free to play ball. You see Ruger smiling. You see, Tommy Farmer hitting a double down the line, and that big old smile of his. You're like, dude, how fun is it to be a Longhorn right now?
I think one of the things too that like kind of almost helps free up is like one thing that Max Winter does on the mound. I watch.
Right,
We talked about how like we talked about earlier, like like when you're growing up, they start telling you to do a drill without a baseball, you're like, oh my god, here we go with this crap again, right? Like you want me to imagine throwing a baseball? What are you doing, coach? Right? What is this, right? But like it's funny how like you just going through those little mental reps, how
right,
much that actually does end up preparing you for things. And like I love that baseball is one of these. Baseball is a sport where you harp on fundamental, and then you just go out there and react, right? Like
right,
it's not like football where you're running a play and you got to run to an exact spot or you got
right.
to get this exact thing down. It's a lot more of a fluid sport where hey,
So
what if that ball what if that lace hits the lip of the grass right there, and then that thing takes a wild hop? What are you doing then? And it's just and then also like too like multiple times that you've seen this happen, this team does not give up, right? Like a play, Mississippi State, we don't sweep the Bulldogs out there without Max Ballou giving his all out effort on that fail on a basically
right,
on a very similar play to the Kentucky one that we lost to.
It's a good
right.
So
point.
I mean, it's just I love this team, man, and I think that your son being an addition is one massive part of it.
Thank you for that. And we're grateful. Cap's Corner over there. Those guys. Hey Robert, come on in, come hang out with us. Like they've been so welcoming. Let the guys in left field, the guys in right field on the buses. Like you're just so appreciative. We're appreciative as a family. Number one, that they've welcomed Ethan. You guys have welcomed Ethan so well into the program, and most importantly into Austin. And he feels like he's playing at home. Like he really does feel that. And he says, "Dad, man, there's just nowhere better to be than here in Austin." And I wholeheartedly believe that he's super happy. Every day is a journey for him, just trying to do the best he can to be a Longhorn and represent the Longhorns the right way. So as you talk about that, he's surrounded by a group of guys who truly care about the program. So it's not like Ethan's the only guy. It's like literally J Flow has taken him under his wing, and Galvan has taken him under his wing, and all these guys have just taught him how to be a Longhorn, guys that have done it before him. So we're just fortunate that Ethan has been welcomed, and that he's contributing and he's in the middle of all this stuff. So thank you guys for the support. We appreciate that.
I mean, y'all obviously deserve that, man. And I hope that, Texas baseball fans, you say they've all treated you the way that obviously you deserve to be treated, but I am firmly in the belief that Texas baseball fans are our best group of fans. And I'm not
Yeah.
insulting the football fan. Texas baseball fans have a slightly different type of passion, a big time respect for the game, for really good and well played baseball. And so it's an honor to have you. We do have a question from the comments here. And this Mr. Burnt Orange says, and this is apart from Ethan, he says, does Mr. Mendoza think the swing discipline needs to improve?
You know, I can sit here and critique guys on what they're doing, but I'm not facing 96, 99. I don't even drive that fast. Like, I mean, who am I to sit here and say that their discipline is out of control? Because honestly, the ball, if you watch enough of these pitches that come across the plate, it's sinker, it's slider, it's changeup, and to me in the SEC, I don't see enough changeups. I see more sinker and I see more slider. But to me, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, look, the ball's moving left and right. It's 60 feet, 6 inches. Some of these guys are 6'6". They're 215, 240. They're monsters. They're electric. These guys should be in pro ball. And we're standing 60 feet 6 inches away, hoping and praying that we guess in the right count that we are getting the fastball from the information that we have based on analytics, that we are getting the pitch that we get. And I see Ethan swing through a pitch sometimes, and I'm thinking in my head, what in the world are we doing? Right. But I verbally won't express that because to me, it is so difficult. The analytics give you a picture, and if you execute great, and you look like a hero when Galvan hits that bomb off the scoreboard in right field on a heater that's up and away. But if he would have guessed heater and got the changeup, we're all questioning how we lost to the Bulldogs on Sunday, right? So
Yeah.
to me, there's more to this than swing decision. This is like an electric league, and the players in the league are phenomenal. I'm blown away at the talent, and so um, I'm just
Maybe.
great. I'm grateful when I see guys just go the other way on pitches that, to me, the opposite field approach is such an unused weapon that I taught Ethan how to do that at a very young age. And I would give him bubble gum for hitting balls the other way. And that's how I taught him, is like, you hit the ball the other way, you get a bubble gum. You pull the ball, you're gonna be in trouble, dude. You know, you're not gonna eat that night. You know, I'm in control of feeding you, right? So, and I'm just kidding, but as we go through the season, I would just say, man, the stuff gets even better. The arms get better, and the analytics, the data comes back, and they know what you're swinging at, and they know what you're taking. And these dudes are good, and the coaches are great. So, man, could we get better in that area? Yeah, but long story short, man, good luck getting up there and swinging at that stuff because I don't want anything to do with it.
Well, and one, like I always love like when because and this isn't what the guy that asked him the question wasn't going after it all like this, but I love when people like go after like the hitters and play. It's like, okay, go stand in that box. Go stand in that box
Jeez,
and just listen to a 90 plus mile an hour fastball come towards you and then start adding on movement and stuff, right? And then you can
oh man.
start talking to players. But
I
like
mean, I
like
every
what's
told you.
amazing
every
about this
fan
league,
needs every fan needs a seat right behind home plate for at least one inning, and then
Yeah.
it'll change your mind. Like I'm blown away at the stuff that's coming out of those out of their hands. It's amazing.
it's wild too, and it's like it's crazy how it just keeps on getting better and better, right? The movement, like they find more ways to make the ball move. But
Jeez.
like you mentioned how like tough the SEC. This is one of the things that just like you being a Texas baseball fan for a long time. Like I mean, this is very what we're getting to watch as Texas fans right now, and I know
Oh
we're still
man.
5 weeks away from it actually like really starting to matter. But this is not just everyday stuff that you see, and even for a school like Texas with the level of prestige that we have. I mean, to be 13-2 in the SEC, and then
Jeez.
having played some like LSU, Georgia, some really good teams. Now we're gonna have some really good teams coming up here. I think probably the hardest 3 game stretch that we'll have all season long
Right.
coming up. But I mean, or 3 series stretch. I mean, say not 3 game, but man, it's just this is such a special season, and I just I can't help but think like all the time when I'm at the dish and I'll see Ethan over there and I'm like, man, that dude has got to be living his best dream possible, right? Like the I mean
Yeah.
because this is the best season since 2005, and it's just
That's amazing.
it's like to just think about how crazy that is. It's wild that this team has been so consistent in a sport that consistency isn't really.
Isn't really a thing. Yep.
And like you
And you,
said, it's like we win different ways too.
and when you talk about, when you talk about that stuff, it's like it's the SEC. It's the elite of the elite. And Texas has been needing this. This is not like Texas has been not, we've been average. Like Texas has been good. I mean, let's look at the history of what's happened over the last, 10 years.
I mean, David
And
Pierce
then
was
you throw
a
him in the middle of SEC.
648 coach.
He's been
Like he was like
right.
30,
That's what
30
I'm
points
saying. It's
below
like,
Augie. That's what
that's
gets
what
me
I'm
is when
saying.
people act like David was bad. I'm like, "Ooh, let's stop there. Jim's great.
Right. And that's the thing is like the program has been in need of another level, another challenge. And the school like is prepared for it. And I laugh when people say, they're unprepared for the SEC. No, they've just been waiting for their opportunity to prove that they just need a platform to be able to show who we are as Longhorns, right? And that to me has been the biggest key is like you're given an opportunity, take advantage of that opportunity. I think across the board, you take Del Conte and all these phenomenal leaders in positions of power and decisions that are going to impact the university. Come on, like you're getting it right. And so to me, it's like I'm all on board. I don't care if they lose. I'm all on board for whatever happens because at the end of the day, this is a fun journey. And I think you guys, everyone appreciates that. And I think that if you go in with that mindset, man, there's no matter what happens down the road over the next, course of, 8 to 10, 12 weeks, man, how humbling and awesome is it to just be a part of this right now?
I thought there was a lot of good tidbits in there, and I really liked where you mentioned that maximizing your opportunity, and it seems like you mentioned Chris Del Conte, like he's maximizing the entire athletic department's opportunity. There's
Jeez.
no more Texas is back in the win. Like our football was down, baseball was not what it can be. Basketball was, kind of lost under Shaka Smart and other coaches. I mean, every single sport, it almost doesn't matter what you talk about right now. You're going to find a lot of really, really positive things to say about the team, parents, athletes. We had some football parents on during the football season, and their gratitude for being a part of the Texas football family. You start to see why Texas football has started to rise again because of all the people behind it and the people behind the kids
Right.
and the coaches and the families that you can tell what they're looking for. And you see the same thing here with you, Robert, and some of the other families involved in Texas baseball. It's a family, and it's a special one right now, and it doesn't look like it did a couple years ago. Not that a couple years ago was that bad, but again, this is
Right.
Texas, and Texas baseball needs to be at the top. And so credit to Chris Conti again for going out, shocking the college baseball world, pulling a Jim Schlossnagle, him bringing several members of the staff, and then finally making it to where, hey, Ethan Mendoza can play for Jim because he's not in that god awful maroon over at Texas A&M. That you
I'm
said a
gonna.
lot of really cool things tonight, man, but that's got to be the highlight just because we're gonna
Oh my
post that on
gosh.
Twitter and with your approval, and that'll
Oh
get
man.
some riots, my friend.
My official new narrative is that Jim Schlossnagle came to Texas purely so that he could recruit Ethan Mendoza onto his baseball team. Yeah, that's my new narrative.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Coach Losh was shocked when he found out it wasn't him and it was actually A&M. I mean, when he's in that interview talking about it, I just laugh because I'm amazed that Coach Schlossnagle didn't know that it wasn't, truly wasn't
Right.
him. Ethan did want to play for him, but all those stories just make this season even more special for us. And like I said, the parents have been great, the fans have been amazing. The level of support. If you look at the NIL, if you just take a snapshot of the NIL and how that's impacted the program, to everyone that's donating, from $5 to thousands of dollars and everything in between that, what a massive impact that they have made on these young men's lives. Like, and then you see the fruits of that, right? And there's nothing more disappointing than when you're supporting a program and there's zero responsibility and accountability, from the head down. But they're so responsible with everything. And I'm talking about Nolan Kane. I'm talking about Coach Losh and his staff. Just getting the right guys. Number one is as short timed as the short amount of time that he had, but man, the level of responsibility that comes with, to everyone out there who's donating and helping, man, you have no idea how much that means to even Ethan. For us to have his meals on a day to day basis. You talked about Arizona State and the transformation between that and Texas. Just him having the ability to go eat after a long 3 game road trip in Kentucky and come back home and have money in his pocket to go eat and do some fun things with the guys. Like, man, he can just focus on school and baseball, and that's amazing. That's so different than when I played in college. So I just wanted to hit on that a little
Yeah,
bit,
no, shout out to the Texas One Fund guys. I mean, it's really. I
man.
mean, it does really help that is run by a former player and then also a guy that has a son on the team. So I mean, it's really nice knowing that at the University of Texas we can trust the NIL stuff to not be, because there's a lot of NIL
Right.
programs where it's like, do you have my kid's best interest involved, or do you
Right.
got, or are you just trying to, get your pockets a little bit fatter? And it's nice
Right.
knowing that Texas, we got a place that we can trust, that we can put our money into, and it's going to go straight to the athletes.
Right, and Britt Peterson, he's phenomenal. Like, he's just such a good face for the program. Um, that all those things just go into making this program what it is, and obviously that's a small portion of it. But to your point, that it's people are just taking care of what's given to them, and Coach Losh, credit to him for going out and getting the right guys. Ethan just said, "Hey, Coach, I just want to be able to cover my school and maybe have a little bit of money to eat, those types of things." And at the end of the day, that's what he truly meant, and I think that a lot of guys in the program believe that, and they want that. They just want to win. So, man, that's just awesome to be able to share that with you
Let me tell
guys.
you guys one thing. I crazy story for you today, and I'll probably talk about this all week because it floored me. But in reference to the NIL and in reference to the transfer portal, I was speaking with a Division I head football coach today. He said his entire day consisted of from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. re-recruiting his own roster, renegotiating NIL deals, and he's like, "This is a full week thing for me. This is a mid-major program." And, so this is not, as Nash and Robert just mentioned, it's not something that's just super easy to navigate. And it's something that's going to be an issue. You're going to have to do that. And so for, Texas baseball to seemingly, have a really good grasp and handle on the NIL situation,
Right.
it's going to go a long way and it's going to pay dividends for the program. But it is very refreshing to hear, you have guys that, hey, of course you want to go out and do a fun thing or two with a buddy on a road trip. You want to be able to feed yourself. But at the end of the day, it seems like Texas has a group that's focused on winning. While I'm not saying accusing anyone else, but they're out there. There's guys that hey, I want to have a lot of money in my pocket. I want to look cool. I want to do some TikToks.
Right.
I'm gonna post some dances in the locker room. Go throw for 10 touchdowns
Right.
without putting in the work. The mental reps that it requires to be great. And so, just another thing that to really believe that this trend line that Texas is on is not one that's going to end soon, guys. It's a lot of fun to hear you two, talk about it and the nuances of baseball. Is such a beautiful game, and it's always been played pretty damn well in Austin. So it's about time that back on that elite level. 20 years since a national title. So I mean, what better way to honor that
Yes.
2005 national title team than making a run at Omaha again this year? I have two questions for you. We'll keep it short, Robert. These are going to be easy ones. And Nash, feel free to share your opinions on these as well, because I'd like to at least one with this first one. You got 5 series left. I believe we've got Auburn, you've got Arkansas, Texas A&M, Florida, and then I believe Oklahoma. Which of those 5 series, Robert, which one do you absolutely, no matter what, all ends, have to win? Which one is Texas? I mean, you got both rivals in there, but then you got a top 3 ranked Arkansas team.
Right.
What are you thinking there?
Well, I heard a great coach one day, at coaching school mention that when you're supposed to, win the games you're supposed to win. And in order to make it that's to make it a good season. But to make it a great season, you need to steal some wins from the teams that you're not supposed to beat, right? And so we have to look at an Arkansas team. Number one, I think that Arkansas is well rounded in the way that they play the game. I think that they bring some elements that other teams don't. Right? They have the strength, they have the power, they have the pitching. They've got good coaching, so it's going to be a barn burner. So to me, um, win one of the three, right? Just Arkansas, one of the three, and I think that that's going to be awesome. Fortunate enough to walk out of there 2 of 3, man. Get out of town and let's get back to Austin in a hurry, right? Now, if you sweep, man, Mendoza is going to be going bananas on the field celebrating, and I might get kicked out of town, right? So, those are the types of games that, to me, I think, okay, let's just look at that what it is. But you have to beat Oklahoma, you have to beat our Auburn. Auburn's hot right now. They've strung together a couple of real nice weekends, and so we have to jump on them early, and I think we have to beat those guys, and I think 2 of 3 is realistic. Um, you know, Going to Oklahoma is going to be tough. The wind blows straight out, so it plays into our favor. I would expect that we would win 2 of 3 there. Um, that's a big one for us. And then Florida is scary because they've got some monsters, and I think that they can pitch it and they can hit it. And if they put it together and they get hot at the right time, we're going to be in for a tough weekend. So 2 of 3 there for me would be great. And then let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room with A&M, right? Man, let's sweep them, put them back in their place, and I, I'll be blazing back to Austin or back to Dallas, excuse me, on 35, a smooth 75. No worry in the world if we can go 3-0 against the Aggies, and I'll be super happy about that.
Yeah, I
Which
mean, look, that's the one that it's actually kind of funny how far we've come, because I was like, look, I'm fine with losing the Arkansas series if that means that we got it if we sweep A&M, because if we sweep just sweep A&M, right? Just but
Right,
then again, that was also when the A&M was seen as like the number one team. But I mean, you mentioned the Auburn team. Auburn, this Auburn team reminds me a lot of Texas, like literally just 2 to 3 weeks ago, right? Like they just kind of seem like they're on a similar path to Texas, and they're also just they're a jack of all trades, master of none team, right? They're
right,
not going to be the best in any one category, but they're going to be in top 50 in every single all these other categories, like literally just across the board, and
right,
they're going to be a really salty team. But I think that if we can take Friday, I think a sweep is actually possible
right.
for Auburn. But yeah, I would say, like you said, 2 out of 3 versus Auburn. Obviously, sweep A&M. Uh, I obviously win 2 out of 3 versus Arkansas. But at the same time, if y'all want to take that number one ranking from us,
Hey, have at it.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I'm a little. I always tell people I'm not a little stitious. I'm superstitious. So
I
I'm fine with
mean,
losing that number one
Ark,
ranking before we get to the end of the season.
Arkansas number one heading into the NCAA
Right.
tournament. Whatever
Have
could
at
go
it.
wrong.
Yeah,
Have at
the
it.
Omahogs. Woo!
Hey,
Uh,
I'm rooting them
We'll
on all
be
the way till we get to Omaha, right?
right. Well, let me. So Nash, you got to answer though. Which one do you want to win the most? It's got to be A
oh
and
A
M.
and M, A&M
Okay,
easily. Yeah,
making sure. I mean
you
that
look.
is going to be as heated as a baseball series as I can
Comes down to
ever
A&M.
remember. I'm thinking
Look,
like '04 Red Sox Yankees ALCS '03 '04. I'm talking like this is intense stuff, man, and I cannot wait to be there. But Nash, you got another point to make before
oh no,
I
I
was
was
going
just
to
gonna
ask.
say this is specifically for him because so I have some pretty good seats right behind the batters, like right behind the batters box for the
Ooh, okay.
opposing team. And Ethan was up to bat, and I forget what game this was. It was one of his home run games, obviously, but A&M had just lost, and I'm like, I said, "Hey, Ethan, A&M just lost. How about you hit a dinger and make it a little bit better?"
Hit a
Ball
dinger.
flies up. Yeah, literally next swing, he hits a dinger. I'm like, okay, he really does hate A&M, doesn't he?
It's a coachable kid. It sounds like. It sounds
Hey,
like.
listen, man. I don't think it's a hate thing. I just think he just whatever, man. It's
Yeah, no,
A&M.
yeah.
Just leave him alone. We're good. Don't wake a sleeping dog. Bring him in. Let's beat him 3-0, get him out, send him back home, and we're good. And it'll be fine. We don't need to address it too bad, too much. We're good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, because that's exactly the message. It's going to be, hey, go play baseball. Don't worry
That's it.
about this team on the other side.
No,
We're worried about us. We're worried about playing our game. Now,
All the
last
pressure is
question.
going to be on Texas.
Of course, but it's Texas baseball. We're used to that
Yep.
pressure. Hopefully, we're used to that pressure. Last question I have for you, brother. I'm gonna put you a little bit on the spot right now. Remove the coach from yourself. Remove, the teacher from yourself. Be a dad for a moment. Just a dad. Favorite moment you've ever had watching Mr. Ethan Mendoza playing baseball can be from his junior high, club level baseball, high school career, Arizona State. What do you have for us?
oh man, we've had so many memories, and I'm gonna try not to tear up on this one because there's so many awesome memories that I've shared on the field with him. Um, there's something to be said, and I know this is cliche, but he went to camp. I changed his birth certificate, or not his birth certificate. Don't I misspoke there. I changed his camp registration form with Augie Garrido, and on the camp registration it said you had to be 7 years old to be at camp, and he was 4. and I changed his birthday so he could be eligible to go to camp. And he got there and he's swinging his bat, and all the campers are like, the camp directors are like, dude, this guy, like, look at his swing. And Augie Garrido walked up and he's like, dude, what in the world? Show me your swing. So, like, they're loving on Ethan, man. He goes through camp. He doesn't cry. He doesn't poop or pee his pants. I'm like, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to embarrass you, but you go camp after camp, year after year. He's talking about Texas. He loves Texas. And then you see him just in the alumni game run out in that uniform. And it's like, holy cow, dude, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. And then somehow he finds a way into the lineup at the 9 hole. I think if Coach Slosh had a 15th hole, he'd put him there. But I'm like, dude, what in the world is going on? Like, he's actually on the field. And so I'm in tears, and then he starts hitting, and I'm thinking in my mind, okay, like, you're playing, you're hitting, you're wearing a Texas uniform. There's something wrong. Like, it just doesn't this doesn't happen. So every day when I watch him run out on the field, I'm literally crying. Like, I get tears in my eyes because I'm just like, a little boy's dream is literally in front of me as I'm watching him do that. That's the most impressive thing I've ever seen a kid who's been turned down by Texas multiple times going through the recruiting process. Was they took one of the other middle infielders on his team. They said he didn't hit the ball far enough. He didn't throw hard enough. Didn't have enough range. He didn't run fast enough. They gave him every excuse as to why he couldn't be a Texas Longhorn, only to pull that all together and prove why, a decently fast kid. He's not. He's pretty slow. I'll throw that out there. He's got a little bit of pop. He really doesn't have that good of arm strength. He doesn't check off a lot of boxes when you look at him. And he just plays his absolute butt off for the Longhorns. That's the most and proudest moment as a dad that I could ever ask for, is like, you live your dream, you're working every day towards a goal. And when you get there and the opportunity is given to you, that you own it and you honor it and you just appreciate every single second of it. And that to me is like the most proudest moment as a dad I've ever had of him.
I think
Thanks for
I think one of the if there was like a 15 or 30 seconds like clip that you could put off from the game that kind of almost describes what you just said right there, is when Ethan, and I know you were probably like, you're probably the parent, and you starts your mind starts running in a lot of places when you see him start to labor his arm, right, and like he landed on that kind of funny, and it's like, but to watch him stay out there, like you can tell that wearing the burnt orange means a little bit something else extra for him, and it's just it's a really cool thing. I've thought about that multiple times, like you said, like this is his dream, and it's right, it's playing out in front of us live, and
Right.
it's a really cool thing to watch.
And it's hard to tell a kid, I've always said this to dads, like, don't ever tell your kid that you can't make it to the big leagues. Don't ever tell your kid that he can't play Division I baseball. Just don't say those things, man. Give them every opportunity and feed a dream that literally may not ever come to fruition. But when you see these types of things happen for kid after kid, and you player after player, and you're fortunate enough to coach great players who come from great families, it's like, man, how awesome and amazing is that to share that experience with him. So, man, when I blaze down 35 after work on Fridays, and I get there to the field, I'm just blown away at the fans that are in the stands, the burnt orange running around the bases, the people going bananas, and my son is hitting leadoff for the number one team in the country. Who does that?
Hey man, enjoy
Ethan
every
does.
second of it. Soak it all in. I mean, like, yeah, Ethan does. That's your life, man. That's what you've helped create.
Wow.
Ethan's hard work. You talk about his attributes, and maybe he's not going to wow you from the physical standpoints, and he's not going to smoke balls 425. But when you have the calm, cool, collective nature that he does, when you're so savvy about the intricacies of the game, all of a sudden you're a lot faster on the diamond. You play a
Right.
lot faster than you actually are. And I try to tell that to football kids during my tenure as a coach, baseball kids as well. If you're spending every second thinking about oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, but you're not relaxed and you're not just letting it come naturally. You're not being reactive. You're kind of pressing. That's when mistakes happen. That's when you can go into real big slumps at the plate. Ethan does a beautiful job of letting the game of baseball come to him. He trusts his abilities, knows his abilities. And so, man, it's great to have you here, Robert, to hear your knowledge of baseball. We would absolutely love to have you back, brother. Get you on here talking more baseball. For another maybe lead up to the A&M series can get you on here. A little trash talk of
Oh
the egg.
boy.
I'm kidding. We'll take it light. We'll take it light and easy. But
Oh
any
man.
final words you have for us, brother, before we let you enjoy the rest of your Monday evening?
Yeah, I just want to express our gratitude, from the family and just the appreciation that we have for the staff and the support of the program and Ghost and Nash and just all of the podcasts and all of the coverage and I think there's a group of people that go unrecognized at times. Our publications that come out and all the Twitter and social media coverage that our boys get. It's things like that make a huge difference for parents and kids and recruits and all those things that Schloss talked about this morning. Um, Man, what an incredible opportunity that we have as a family. But I just want to say thank you to everyone out there because I think it's important that you hear from a dad who's gone through weekend after weekend with his kid and done all these things, and to see him out there on the field representing the Longhorns, just how much you guys mean to us when we walk in and we shake hands, we hug people, and man, just a phenomenal experience that we've had. So we're grateful. If you see us at the park, say hi. We're the ones going bananas up in the parent section, trying to root on the boys, and we do that. We do that unapologetically. We just want the guys to win so badly. And if Ethan goes 0 for 4 and we win, man, we're celebrating with the guys, and we just want everyone to do the same. So we're just grateful.
And
We are
likewise,
grateful to have you, brother. Go ahead, Nash. You
I,
first.
I was saying the exact same thing that you are. We're grateful to have you, man.
Yeah, we can't we as fans we can't say enough, man, because we care about the program so much. Again, it means a lot that you would spend time talking with us about it because we love your kiddo, man. We love his teammates. It's an honor and joy to watch the passion and the energy that they have on the field. The skull clap, all of it is
Oh
just
man.
cool, man. It's a part of this story of 2025 Texas baseball. You're obviously a forever member of the Texas baseball family now, and it's just an honor to have you here with us, man. You dropped a lot of wisdom and insight on these guys. A nice background into Ethan's career, back at high school into Arizona State and now Texas. So for anybody that's just now listening, y'all go back in the very beginning, check all that out. Throw a like on the video, show Mr. Mendoza some love. He more than deserves it. But guys, enjoy the rest of your Monday night. Texas baseball back in action 4 more times this week, but got a big series with Auburn this weekend. 13-2 in the SEC. Auburn is hot. They're playing as well as anybody right now. So thank you, Mr. Robert. Thank you, Mr. Nash, for joining me. We'll catch you guys next time. And as always, hook 'em horns, all
Hook
right?
'em.